The Alpha Legion is a traitor Space Marine Legion that was established during the course of the first founding prior to the events of the Great Crusade. Of all the Space Marine Legions, both loyalist and traitor alike, the Alpha Legion is undoubtedly the one of which the least is known with any degree of certainty, the two Lost Legions notwithstanding. This is due primarily to the vast web of lies, secrets, and falsehoods that the Legion has cultivated for themselves over the millennia. This predilection towards secrecy and deception in turn makes it difficult, if not outright impossible, for anyone from outside, or even from within the Legion's ranks for that matter, to obtain any sort of concrete information that isn't directly contradicted in one way or another. One rather infamous example documented within the Alpha Legion's own records relates to how their Primarch Alpharius Omegon was rediscovered by the Imperium. One account, which was psychically extracted from the mind of an Alpha Legion officer during the course of the Horus Heresy, details that the Primarch's gestation pod landed upon a barren, lifeless world deep within the Mandragoran stars, which he only managed to escape thanks to a chance encounter with a band of Xenos pirates, allowing the Primarch to abscond with their ship. However, this version of events is contradicted by an altogether different account that is detailed within the text known as the Codex Hydra, which states that Alpharius had avoided the fate of his brothers when the Primarchs were dragged into the warp and scattered across the vast expanse of the galaxy, and that Alpharius was instead raised in secret by the Emperor himself. And yet both of these accounts are themselves further disputed by at least another 2 to 3 contradicting claims, if not more, made within the Alpha Legion's various historical records, making it all but impossible to discern which account, if any, are true. One of the bigger mysteries regarding the Alpha Legion concerns the purity of their gene seed stocks. The gene seed of the Alpha Legion, despite it being described as relatively stable, has been known to produce a variety of spontaneous mutations within the Legion's warriors. While the specifics of these mutations remain somewhat unclear, those Alpha Legionnaires that are afflicted with such disfigurements will make devastating use of them in combat. Such warriors will keep their mutations hidden from their foe before revealing them during the heat of battle, in order to intimidate, disorientate, and ultimately wrongfoot their opponents, granting them a sizable psychological advantage. But are these mutations truly a naturally occurring phenomenon displayed by Alpha Legion genetic stock, or could such disfigurements be deliberately manufactured? Initially, it is certainly possible that any flaws exhibited by the gene seed of the Alpha Legion had indeed been present since the Legion's inception. This is due to the fact that during the course of the Terran Unification Wars, as detailed within Horus Heresy Book 3, Extermination, the Alpha Legion would have any and all requests to induct additional warriors into their ranks denied by the Emperor himself. Many would go on to suggest that the reasoning behind this was due to a hitherto unknown flaw that had begun to develop within the Legion's gene seed, which the Emperor had intended to eliminate before allowing the Legion to expand any further. If such speculation were indeed accurate, then it would make some degree of sense that any flaws that were thought to have been previously eliminated may have simply instead gone into recession before manifesting once more at a later point in time. After all, many of the legions would develop gene seed flaws of their own, which would only grow more prevalent and exacerbated over the millennia, such as the red thirst demonstrated by the Blood Angels, which instills in those that succumb to it an unnatural hunger for blood. While such a flaw was considered to be fairly rare during the course of the Great Crusade, even to the point that the Primarch Sanguinius was able to keep the very existence of the flaw hidden from the majority of his legion, it would begin appearing more and more frequently following the events of the Horus Heresy. Some have also speculated that the true reasoning behind the Alpha Legion remaining so small for such an extended period of time was due to the Legion's warriors undergoing additional genetic augmentation. If this were indeed the case, then such additional enhancements could have feasibly degraded over time, resulting in the Legion's gene seed developing a propensity for manifesting spontaneous mutations and disfigurements. However, given how the Alpha Legion are known to essentially weaponize the various mutations that their gene seed is said to produce, then there is a distinct possibility that such genetic defects are, in actuality, intentionally engineered and cultivated by the Legion's apothecaries. The reasoning for this is due to the fact that during the course of the Horus Heresy, the Alpha Legion would prove responsible for sabotaging the Raven Guard Legion's Raptor project. Following the events of the Istvan V drop site massacre, the Raven Guard, seeking to swiftly replenish their losses, would obtain samples of pure and untainted Primarch genetic material from Terra, along with all the necessary data required to unlock its secrets. Those Space Marines that were created through such means, known to the Raven Guard as the Raptors, would grow to maturity so rapidly that they would prove to be combat ready in only a few short weeks. However, a cadre of Alpha Legion agents which had infiltrated the ranks of the Raven Guard would succeed in sabotaging the Raptor project, utilizing a poison that had been derived from demon blood, which tainted any and all future batches of gene seed created through the Raptor process. As a result, not only would the Alpha Legion obtain the gene tech required for the Raptor project to work as intended, but their actions would result in a number of aspirant Raptors being transformed into twisted, shambling monstrosities. Since a number of Astartes that had been created over the course of the Raptor project would spontaneously develop various mutations, then, potentially, similar such defects could have arisen with any Alpha Legionnaires that were also created through such methods. While this may initially seem somewhat unlikely, due to the fact that the Alpha Legion obtained both pure genetic samples as well as the necessary data to utilize it before sabotaging the Raptor project, there is some evidence that would appear to potentially support such a possibility. Within the audio drama The Geld, an Alpha Legion apothecary known as Mazik the Unfixed would attempt to utilize the data and gene tech from the Raptor project in order to create his own legion of Chaos Space Marines which were formed in his own image. Such creations, known as the Geld, were known to sport a number of deformities, with one sporting a third arm while another had sprouted a second head. Mazik would go on to state that such creatures were created in honor of Corvus Corax, the Primarch of the Raven Guard, and that he intended to complete his great works. However, Mazik's plans would ultimately be undone thanks to the efforts of Shadow Captain Queld of the Raven Guard and Captain Mordred of the Knights of the Raven chapter, who would infiltrate the apothecary's fortress and slay the traitor for his crimes. The main problem with this particular notion comes from the fact that the Gelds that Mazik had created, despite being engineered through the utilization of the Raptor process, were created from the apothecary's own genetic material as opposed to that derived from a Primarch. Mazik was also noted to be hideously deformed, to the point where he appeared to be devolving into a Chaos Spawn. This in turn would appear to suggest that Mazik's mutations, as well as those demonstrated by the Gelds, were the result of chaotic corruption as opposed to any inherent flaws that may be present within Alpha Legion genetic stock. Despite this, there is still a minute possibility that any deformities found within Mazik's own genome could have been exacerbated after undergoing the Raptor process. Regardless, it is still theoretically possible that the Alpha Legion could have employed similar such methods in order to cultivate deformities and mutations should the situation have demanded it. While some Traitor Legion warbands, such as those derived from the Wordbearers Legion, may wholeheartedly accept such mutations, believing them to be blessings bestowed upon them by the Chaos Gods, others, such as the Iron Warriors, will openly despise such gifts, and have been known to amputate compromised limbs in order to replace them with cybernetic prostheses. While the bulk of the Alpha Legion may not believe that such mutations are inherently a boon, they would not necessarily discard them out of hand should they prove potentially useful in their operations. As such, it still seems fairly likely that any deformities exhibited by Alpha Legionnaires were deliberately engineered in order to ensure greater odds of success during the next series of operations. Ultimately, only the Emperor himself may know the truth. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.